Good morning, everyone. My name is Louise Paré. I'm here at Lithia Park in the Upper Duck Pond, where we are going to have a spring equinox celebration, as we have been doing for the past 7 years with our equinoxes and solstices. And I want to acknowledge that the camera person today is Wanda Borland, who came at the very last minute, finished her shopping over in Medford and gathered up her equipment, and here we are. So there's two of us here, numerous ducks behind me quacking, some people coming with picnics for the park. And I am very glad to be here and just reaching out and connecting with all of you in our Global Pachamama Alliance community. I want to do a shout out to Lorraine and to George, who are sequestered in their homes, and to all the other Pachamama Alliance celebratory people who usually come but are taking care of themselves today. So a little bit about the cloth that I brought today. It is from Africa. It's mud cloth, and it is a mixture of light and dark with some spaces of white. And I think it's a fitting cloth for these times and for our celebration of spring at this time. Spring is always a combination of both death and new life. The death of the seed shedding the casing that's around it, that's been its constant companion since it was planted. And I can imagine when the seed has to shed that protective covering, that it probably feels loss. And it probably feels really awkward and uncomfortable before those shoots for new life start pushing between itself and the ground that is nurturing it now. And so I'm imagining that that's a metaphor for all of us who are pushing through and feeling things that we have had around us for a long time, certain behaviors and places we've gone that are that we have to drop in order for new life to come through. So I'm going to start today by acknowledging that we gather on this beautiful, verdant land of the ancestors of the Tequilma, Shasta, and Lagawa peoples who are still in our communities, and I want to honor the way that they sustain themselves through horrible kinds of trials and tribulations and illnesses, and who have come through, who have tremendous strength of their survivance to be here with us now and to be in our midst. And I also want to acknowledge all of the Pachamama people in the rainforest area of the Amazon who asked us to be allies with them many years ago when we first started doing the Pachamama work. For those that are under threat right now, who are under threat from evangelical missionaries who want to go in and convert and make contact, may the forces of nature keep them protected from any harm. So I also brought today water that is from the duck pond rather than going down to the creek, and I brought 7 stones of various kinds because 7 is a very symbolic number in many, many cultures, a symbolic number of completion and new beginnings, but of completion especially. So I'm going to go ahead. So as we usually do in our ceremonies, we light sage and allow the energy of that sage to cleanse all that in us which wants to be released, wants to be cleansed for new life to come in. And so I light this also today for all the people around the world who are suffering with the coronavirus, that all of our healthcare people who are also on the very front lines, that the energy of this sage may be a protector for them in all 4 directions: north, south, east, west, and the center, sky above, earth below, and all of us together. All of us together. May the power of this sage help us find strength and let all that stands in the way of that full strength be released. I'm going to sing the song, which many of you know, and you can join me if you're watching this. It's called Moving Between the Worlds, which I really experience that I know I'm doing these days. So it goes like this. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. She brings forth all things from within her body. She brings forth all things from within her body. He, moving, moving, moving between the worlds. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. He brings forth all things from within his body. He brings forth all things from within his body. We, moving, moving, moving between the worlds. Moving, moving, moving between the worlds. We bring forth all things from within our bodies. Oh, yes, we do. We bring forth all things from within our bodies. 1, 2, 3. Achha! So we have a commitment that we always say as members of the Pachamama Alliance. And so I'm going to say it once so that you can recall it to your memory, or if you've never done it before, you can hear it. And then I'll do it phrase by phrase, slowly. And then I just ask you, if you wish to do it with me, to go ahead and say it when I repeat it that second time. I am committed to bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet as the guiding principle of our times. So here we go with the phrase by phrase. I am committed to bringing forth. I am committed to bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence, on this planet, as the guiding principle of our times, So be it. So oftentimes at this point, we have some type of a reflection about the spring equinox. And so today I'm going to read you one that comes from my favorite book of day planners and day reflections, the Wee Moon book. And this is called Spring Equinox. The return of spring, time of holy equality. The landscape is still winter rough and windblown. Walk outside and feel the raw possibility. The world is made up of stories, and we need to change the narrative. Poised in this season's symmetry, ask, what does another world look like? The anxieties hover. Climate change, nuclear holocaust, environmental devastation, the coronavirus. But let us not stress only existential apocalyptic tales. How do we stop devouring the planet and instead energize stories of plenty and repair? From the ballast of balance, begin to notice the commons, that entire life support system that we hold in trust for future beings. Envision a healing, parallel economy producing air, diversity, wilderness, asking only respect in return. Collect bits of wind-blown trash for a day. Gather in community with appropriate social distancing, sharing the commonwealth. Remember that the root word for religion is re-linking. When we speak in the languages of longing, we re-enter the mystery. Walking in the woods, seeing the trees, aren't isolated individuals. Each one is a forest, forest, forest. I walk in the world, and I'm not even me. I am world. Gaze through the mirror. World, world, world. Out of the nursery and into the streets. Grandma and Little Red are tree-sitting in the Tongass, defending the wolves against the woodsman. Snow White has joined the Ladies' Auxiliary of the Seven Dwarfs Union, so she's out fighting for mine safety when the witch comes around with her two-faced apples. Goldilocks is camped on the National Mall explaining to the president that Venus is too hot and Saturn is too cold and the Earth is just right. And that's a poem by Nancy Schimmel, and the Spring Equinox Reflections were written by Oak Shazar for Mother Tongue Inc. and for Mother Tongue. So I hope that I just want to take a moment for us just to hear the beautiful sounds of the creek that's over to my left. Here's some sounds of birds, of cars that are out taking a break from probably being quarantined or being in their apartment. So I'm just going to be quiet and do some breathing from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet, exhaling, drawing new strength from the depths of the earth up through my feet, through my body, out the crown of my head in connection with Mother Sky. Exhaling, inhaling, and feeling all that is in my heart right now, a mixture of grief and anxiety and joy. Exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. So I brought stones from my house. I brought 7 of them today. And so usually at this time, we invite people to take stones and put them into the water bowl. And this blue bowl today is not the usual one that we have had, but it's one that a good friend of mine who's a potter made. And so I want to remember her and the beauty of her work in this deep blue that is also edged in black that kind of reminds me of moss and kelp. So I'm going to take stones now and put them into the bowl. And if you're doing this at home, I invite you to get whatever stones or things that you might want to have. This one kind of reminds me of the moon. It's flat, it's round, it reminds me of the ocean. It's been smoothed. And so I want to remember all of and call into the presence of all water creatures around the world. Today, I believe, is also World Water Day. And I'm reminded of Grandma Aggie, that we may all be water protectors, water protectors, water protectors. And this stone has a little bit of a heart. So it isn't a complete heart stone, but a little bit of that. And it has a little bit of black and white and some little sparkles in it. So for all those whose hearts are weary, who are suffering heartbreak and heart collapse and heart wounding at this time, I want to place this stone in our bowl for heart healing and for heartful compassion. That we can reach out, even if we can't touch each other physically, we can reach out from our hearts energetically to that which knows no limit of space or distance, our beating, loving hearts. And this is just a little stone from my front yard. It's kind of got all kinds of little pocks, little holes in it, which I imagine little creatures may live in or did live in. And it reminds me of the body of the goddess. It's a little bit shaped like that. And so for all the ancestors of our matriarchal lineages, I want to offer this stone today, that we cling to that we call upon the strength of our ancestors. I'm thinking of my mother, Pauline, my grandmother, Anna, my grandmother, Marie, my grandmothers who lived through the Great Depression, who lived through World War II, and who came out stronger for that. May their strength and tenacity be awakened and strengthened in us. And this is an amethyst crystal that was given to me many years ago. I don't remember who the person is, but I know that the amethyst, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, is the stone for the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is that which opens and which connects us to the incredible universal energies of wisdom and insight. And I just love it. I love the colors. I love the roughness of the points. And so whatever amethyst and this beautiful lavender color brings up for you, may you just call that to mind right now and let that lavender amethyst energy move through your body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. For all those who harvest lavender, for all those who are using lavender right now to cleanse, to lift their spirits, to create a loving, comforting environment for the amethyst crystal. I have two different very heavy stones, which I've had for a long time. I just love them. They're flat on top. They have a lot of color variation. And I'm reminded of places where when you climb to them and you've gone through a great climb, oftentimes you'll come to the top of the space where you can rest. But it takes a lot of effort to get there. So I'm thinking about all the people today who are working and climbing and taking care of so many people. I'm thinking of all the children today who love to get outside and sit on rocks and play. And I'm thinking about their future and their brilliance and their promise that we may do everything we can for all the children of the world right now, to protect them, to keep them safe, and to nurture their visions, their laughter, hold them close to us when they are scared, give them all the love that we can. So for all the children of the world, that we may be good caregivers of them. This is kind of a quirky little rock that was in my front yard, and I love the quirkiness of it, because there's many of us that are just really quirky people. Some of us that love this time that's happening because we're introverts and we like staying by ourselves. And there are many of us who are just really quirky about how we're responding. We're hoarding toilet paper and we're, stripping the shelves, and that's really quirky behavior from people who, are scared. We're afraid. We're trying to do the best we can, so that we have compassion for all the quirky things that are happening, for the quirkiness inside ourselves, for the quirkiness of our neighbors, be they next door or around the world, and for all the quirky behavior of those who are dealing with mental illness, for whom maybe we are feeling a closer affinity because we might all feel just a little bit crazy during these times, that we can embrace that part of ourselves. Embrace that part of ourselves that's scared of being foolish or embarrassed or seen scared. May the quirkiness, may the quirky fool in all of us be embraced and give us strength. And then the last stone that I have, again, is kind of flat, but not as flat as the other. And I love this one because it has some of that, what I'll just call menstrual rust color throughout this. And I'm mindful that the earliest cultures were cultures that were matriarchal societies and that valued the equality of all beings, of all genders, of all sexual types and expressions, and where women's blood was seen as a powerful common linking for visioning, for nurturing, for organizing communities, for creating art. So I'm grateful to all the women in my life, all the women around the world who are giving all that they have to give, who are resting, who are asking for what they need, and all the ways that they are in community with others. I want to honor my lineage, my Ukrainian lineage, my French-Canadian lineage. Those are the ones that I know about. I want to honor my spiritual lineage in the tradition of the Himalayan sages and all the people of that community. And I'll take a moment just so that you can call forth all of your lineages, your ancestors, all those who are so close to each of us right now. They are hovering with us. They are here with us, strengthening us and caring for us. Blessed be. So at this time, we usually pour the water from the 4 directions. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And as I do that, I invite you to think about the power of water in our lives right now and all of the ways that you have been using water to perhaps clean your house, to disinfect your body, to water your plants, to take water into your body, to nourish yourself, to swish water around in your mouth with some lemon or vinegar to help with all of the potential for illness, and all the way that water just refreshes. I'm hearing the sound of the creek and it's just making my spirit sing. Makes me happy. I grew up in our backyard, we had an irrigation ditch. And so I think I just kind of always took that for granted because the sound was always there. That's not the case now. And so I want to sing this song about the elements. We use it oftentimes when we're taking the water over to the creek, but because of the filming today, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay here and sing, air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am. Wow! May we all find and let ourselves connect with that deep, deep wisdom that knows no limits of time or space. It's a wisdom that is within every one of us. It's a wisdom that the planet is calling for right now. And whatever gifts you have, whether it's making a meal, whether it's writing a poem or singing a song or just being able to walk with presence as you take food to a neighbor and you leave it outside their door, as you make masks and sew in your home for all the healthcare workers that need those masks, for all the ways that you're creating online learning for children and for friends, and for the multitude of ways that I keep seeing come through my Facebook feed, through my email, of the amazing sprouts of new life that people are doing. One woman wrote on my sister's Facebook page that what they're doing now in their neighborhood is once a day, or maybe it's once a week, they come out of their houses and they just stand in a big circle right there in their neighborhood. And so that they can see each other, they do social distancing, and then maybe they just share, like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Or what Netflix thing that you watched that you liked? How are you feeling? But it's not any kind of like deep, therapeutic, heavy, deep, real thing. So if that little model sounds like something that would work for you, just text your neighbors and say, I'm going to step out my door and just stand there and say hi so that I see you if you aren't quarantined in a way that you can't do that. And if you are, reach out through all the means that we have right now. And if you don't have any of those means in terms of technology, reach out from that deep source of wisdom that is within you, in every cell of your body, in all the fluids of your body. Just sit and imagine your heart like a huge rose petal, unfolding and opening and opening and opening. And with every opening, more love and healing goes into the world. May it be so. It is so. I thank again with great gratitude my dear friend Wanda Borland, who is standing behind the camera right now and who's doing this to me. And so from Wanda and I'll do a two-fisted mwah. We love you all. May this spring bring us all kinds of new growth we never could have imagined, that brings us more into alliance with our Pachamama commitment. And I'm going to close with saying that once again. We are committed to bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet as the guiding principle of our times. Thank you.